theme song for the Gibbo girls down now. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a couple of weeks, but I'm joined here by my friend and co-host, Mr. Leon Todd. How you going, Buster?
We need to talk about your mob, mate, the Freo Dockers. They're well ensconced in the 8. They're probably going to play finals.
Well, they should play finals. They're in 4th. Big game against Melbourne this weekend, so that's that'll be good. Hopefully, did you say the word ensconced?
I said ensconced.
Yeah, that's a good word. Hopefully, that'll further entrench them in the top 4. It'd be nice to get a double chance, finish top 4, maybe finish top 2. Not out of the question. Unlikely, but not out of the question. It's a big few weeks to come up.
But imagine they finished top 2 and got 2 home finals out of it.
Oh my goodness! If I was
now,
playing,
just for you,
you know, we should maybe we'll talk about this in a minute. But because I played, I've got a good story for you. Related
because I saw you out on the ground.
Yeah.
So again, for first-time listeners, our friend Troy here plays the electric guitar in the Optus Stadium for the Fremantle Dockers. You're basically the mascot now.
They have other mascots that wear costumes, but I just wear, rock and roll costume, which is exactly what I'm wearing right now, except with a Dockers jumper on. So, man, we got a lot to talk about today. I played 3 times last weekend. I played on the ground, as well as on the roof of the stadium, the 60,000 capacity stadium. But maybe I'll tell you the story in a minute. We'll get through some other stuff first. Like, for example, mate, your boys, Adam Simpson, he's gone. Gonski.
Simo's gone. I can't believe it.
Coach of the West Coast Eagles.
I mean, as part of a strategic maneuver, they could have got a new coach this year, right? Mm-hmm. And it probably would have sucked just as much.
Yep.
But I kind of feel like Simo's taken one for the boys, and he's probably didn't have to coach this year, but it means that basically they've had an extra year to look for someone.
Yep.
And to get, some young blood out there. And, I thought they played pretty good on the weekend. Jared Schofield doing the thing.
I used to like Jared Schofield. Another player from that 2004 grand final, the Brisbane Port grand final that has had like a dozen coaches come out of it, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, kind of wild. So do you reckon they'll snag Dean Cox?
I don't know. Who do you want? You want Coxie? Do you want Ash Hansen? You want Jamie Graham? You want Nathan Buckley?
I feel like the people's choice would be Coxie, but also Ash Hansen and Jamie Graham are very well established, assistants. I wouldn't be surprised if Hansen ended up getting it.
Yeah.
Just because, when he was a player, he was very much a role player. He played his role well, so I feel like that'd translate to being a coach. And I don't know, Jamie Graham always looked like a bit of a spud to me. So he's like...
He's a Freo at the moment.
But in the same way, Justin Longmuir was a bit of a spud as well. And, he's a pretty decent coach now. So what do I know?
I think Jamie Graham was caretaker coach when someone was sick recently and got a win. So more than I can say for Jared Schofield.
More than I can say for myself, Troy.
Schofield had a really hot run at Subi though. Like he,
dude,
yeah, like he's a great coach. So we'll see how he goes. Good luck to him. But this is not a football podcast, much to our dismay. We'll start that later. You need to start a secondary football channel,
or isn't it? But yeah, we're here to talk about some gear, and I've been really lucky to have a bunch of stuff come through, which we'll talk about in a second. But tell me about how do you end up playing on the surface of Optus Stadium, the hallowed turf?
Well, okay, so here's what happened. So again, we've discussed it several times. People know, but play at this stadium. Oh, one more thing, by the way, for those of you watching, I turned on the filter to touch myself up, and I turned it on as much as possible. So this like smooth skin that I have, I didn't get Botox or anything. That's purely the computer just trying to de-age me a little bit. So maybe look more like a 34-year-old instead of a 36-year-old. What do you reckon, Uncle Leon?
Bro.
This hair mate, I'm like on proper shampoo. Like I've put some effort in. I watched some YouTube videos. I read a PDF. Argan oil shampoo, double washing, using the argan oil conditioner. Bam, like only on the ends. And then you know what's happening after that, mate? A bit of coconut oil to finish off. Bit of coconut oil through there. Let him dry off.
Oof.
Hair has recovered a lot. So, but that aside, I do these Dockers games. I play on the roof of the stadium, 60,000 people max. I haven't played 60,000 before. The most has been 57, I think.
But let's just say hypothetically 60.
On the weekend, there was...
We're on a podcast.
That's right. All on the weekend, there was 42, I think, 40... Well, previous weekend, 43,000 people. So I played pre-game. It was a cold night, Uncle Leon. I was on it. My first performance was 6 p.m. and I was up on the roof of this stadium. And wouldn't you know that just as I get up to the very top, and when I say the roof, I'm not talking about like, you know, of the balcony. Well, I guess it is kind of a balcony, but I'm talking like the actual, like the top of something that has no structure above it to shield you from the elements like rain and wind and stuff. So I'm out there. I'm on the roof of a stadium. I've got a little platform that I go and stand on. I have to be harnessed in, and to put a harness on it means I can't wear a jacket or anything. So I'm out there in a fucking t-shirt and a jersey. Guernsey.
Would you say you're raw dogging it?
I was raw dogging it, mate. It was not fun. It was very cold. The rain came in just as I was setting up, so my guitar got wet, pedals got wet. That's fine. It all worked. I was using the Explorer as you do, and went to the first bit, and that was completely cool, no problem. So anyway, I usually play. For the last few years, I played just at the start of the game. This season, I've been playing at the start of the game and the end of the game as well. I played TNT at the end. I start the game by playing We Will Rock You. And then while I was in Bali on holiday 2 weeks ago, I got a call from the club saying, hey, could you come out at 3/4 time and play Long Way to the Top? And I was like...
All the hits.
Yeah, let's do it. Because it's the club is very much... You know, they push like a Bon Scott sort of because, you know, Bon Scott, Fremantle, that sort of thing. So that AC/DC, it's all kind of a bit interlinked. So it was, I think, Bon's 50th year anniversary or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, of joining AC/DC. I'm like, that doesn't sound right. Thought it would be earlier than that. But anyway, whatever it is.
Nah, 74 would make
74?
sense, dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they wanted me to come out and play Long Way at the Top with a bagpipe player as well. So that was fun. I actually had played that song with a bagpipe orchestra 12 months ago as well, but without a backing track. It was just purely me and I think like a dozen bagpipe players. So this time they wanted to play it to track. I had 2 minutes 30. I had to edit the track and then, you know, play it the next day. I basically got back from Bali at 1 p.m. on Friday afternoon, went straight to had a shower, then went to the studio, knocked out this backing track, had to remove the guitar that I was going to play, and then go to a gig straight away after that. And then the next day we did the show, or did the game where I had to play the song. So I got it all sorted out, no problem. I'm like, well, this song's in B flat, and what are you gonna? You're not gonna play the song in B flat. Were you gonna play a bar chord? What's wrong with you? It's not gonna happen. You tune the guitar up.
Exactly, bro.
So
well done.
Obviously,
I'm proud of you.
And you can't go out in front of. People send me. You can't put a capo on the first fret. So got to tune the guitar up to F. So I have one guitar, which is my Explorer. I use that pre-game. That's in standard tuning. I bring my Les Paul. My Les Paul is in F to play Long Way to the Top. Easy no problem whatsoever. You know, this Explorer recently, the Les Paul recently rewired it, put different pots in it, and very happy with the way it sounds. So on the roof, I had my AX8. On the ground, I brought the Friedman IRX.
Yeah, dog.
And let me tell you, Uncle Leon, that is a very, very good sound. Like, crikey. Very easy to dial in, sounded fucking awesome through the system. So anyway, sound checked. It was all fine. No problem. I do my first performance, goes off without a hitch. I had a bit of time to kill before 3/4 time, like about an hour and a half, 2 hours. So anyway, go down, I set up everything on the ground, 20 minutes, half an hour before I start playing Long Way to the Top. So guitar, got that on, got the IRX, that's all happening, that's all good to go. And I'm just jamming, I usually rip out a bit of Wicked Sensation, play that riff. That's a bit of a warm-up riff for me when I'm at the stadium. So I'm just playing that. I've got in-ears on, just playing that riff with my Les Paul in F, which obviously doesn't sound quite right. And everyone's happy. So what they're going to do is they blow the siren at 3/4 time and the players come off the field to go to meetings and stuff, and then on comes me, and on comes a bagpipe player, and then pyro to obviously do flames and stuff, because you got to have flames. And so I'm just jamming. It's like, cool, siren goes, ready to go. I'm like, shit, my guitar's dropped out. That's a bit weird. And this happens because it's a very big stadium and there's like wireless interference all over the place. So this is not something that's uncommon to me, but it usually will disappear for maybe about 2 seconds and come back. It's happened during a performance, but it happens less likely then. Usually it's when I'm warming up, when there's a lot of other wireless stuff going on. So anyway, the signal drops out. I'm like, cool, it's going to come back. It doesn't come back. So in my headphones, I've got silence. I'm like, this is, I'm looking at the thing and they're starting to drag the pyro out. I'm getting yelled at to get onto the field. I'm like, I got no signal. I'm checking everything. It's like, oh, look, everything looks okay. Anyway, about 10, 15 seconds before I'm about to start. And it starts with fucking guitar, man. You know?
Yeah, dude.
I've taken Malcolm's guitar off. So I'm playing the darn. I've got a little click in there as well. So I've got to play that. Nothing's happening. So 10, 15 seconds before I start, it fucking magically reappears. I'm like, okay, great, no worries. So I go out and I play the song and it's fine. Like, goes off without a hitch, more or less. I get a bit excited when I play these things, and I invariably put my fingers in the wrong position and make some simple mistakes in a very simple song, but that's okay. So anyway, that's not the funny part about this song, mate, because I did that. I played post-game as well. That was all completely fine. I really hammed it up in the post-game thing too, like went a bit too much, but they didn't boo me out of the stadium.
You got an email the next day with some notes?
Well, let's see. Let me tell you what happened the next day. So I'm in the studio. I've got some friends of the channel, Chaos Divine. They're coming in. They're doing some recording at the moment. Recording a song. And they need to put a part down. And I thought, look, this part of the song could really use a Les Paul. And I used mine last night. Let's get the Les Paul out. So we get it out. It's in F. So we tune it down to E standard, no worries. Start playing the guitar and hit record. So, you know, normal 2-bar lead in, and the guitar player starts playing the part. And then weirdly, at beat 3, every time he starts playing, it's what the first 2 beats of the part, it's fine. The third beat, the guitar drops out. I'm like, what the fuck? That's really weird. I'm like checking the cables. We did it like a dozen times. Every single time, he would play the third beat, and the guitar would be there, and it wasn't there. I've never experienced anything like this in my life. What's happening? So I'm like, again, checking everything. It all looks okay. Let's just try a different guitar. So we put that guitar down. We try a different guitar, and it doesn't happen. So somewhere in the guitar, it's fucked. Yeah. And it was, you know, that's obviously why it wasn't working. So I'm just like, I get through the session and I'm thinking, oh, fine, whatever. Nothing really to think about. I better check that guitar later. And then I'm driving home. I'm like, that night before, I had about a minute and a half standing in front of 42,000 people waiting for my guitar to come back on because of wireless interference. And it wasn't wireless interference. I just fucking wired the guitar wrong, badly. There's a dry solder joint in there or something.
Yeah.
And I'm standing there with this fucking guitar, you know, in F. So without a backup guitar, nothing behind me. And I fucking fucked my wiring up like an idiot, like whenever that was 6 months ago. And I've got there's like absolutely no chance of fixing this problem. And there's a light that shone from the sky onto my guitar at that moment. And then it magically worked. And I got through my 2-minute performance, 2 minute and 25 performance of that song. And since then, the guitar has not come back to work again. So anyway, that's, I got away with it that time. But man.
Look, let me interject and say that I've had a few moments like that over the last 7.5 weeks. Namely, mysteriously, it was a wireless issue. I don't know what happened, but you know, the last song in the set, right, the encore, there's a kind of little interlude thing where the MC and singer walks out on the catwalk and sort of sits down, and you know, there's this like play into it where, you know, does the speech at the end of the song, thanks everybody, and like, we're going to do one more song, and points And it's like guitar, and I start playing, and there's just nothing. There's just doing this, and I'm just like, oh, there's just nothing happening. What's with that? And it was a bit of a funny moment. And they handled it well, and they're like, oh, you know what? And then Champion, Joe on the bass, is just like, I'll play it. You know, I'll do some stuff and we can do it. And the minute he starts playing, my guitar magically comes back on. And then he's fine. Have no idea what happened to it. Even weirder, because I thought it might be the wireless. But no, the wireless receiver has a thing on it, and I could see the meter.
Oh, right.
It's getting full. And then I could see on the fractal that it's getting input. So, yeah, I don't know. Probably not my fault. And then also the 335 that I bought over for the show, right? I just got it refretted and plecked. Loving it. And, you know, I probably hadn't played it for 6 months. So it didn't occur to me that, you know, maybe I should probably check that everything on it works. Do the rehearsals. Totally fine. Show number 1. It's just cutting out. It's just, yep, unexplained. Don't know what's going on. Basically, I was able to troubleshoot it. It was the jack. So it's probably the original jack on there. So I took it down to my buddy Charles, who's an amazing luthier. And I was like, man, I don't want to deal with this. I'm here to ruin your day. Like, can you please change the jack? And he's like, bro, no worries. Like, it's not an issue. So, you know, for anyone who's acquainted with 335s, you know, you have to load everything through the F-hole. So in order to get the jack out, he had to take out 2 of the volume and tone controls. But Troy, solder, that's what he used. So you get, you know how solder is like when you're not melting it, it's kind of... So what he did was like, he got the, you know, soldered up the new jack, and then he went through where the jack loads on the guitar. Solder through there, wrap it around the jack so you can pull it through.
Okay.
And then you pull the, you use it. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant way to do it. So you use the solder as like basically little pliable clamps. I thought that was so clever.
Yeah, right. That's cool.
And anyway, then, you know, get the guitar. Awesome. Some friends of mine came down to the show. Get the 335 out. First song, just the guitar's cutting out again. I'm fairly certain that the bridge pickup volume control has a dry solder joint.
Oh, okay.
Because 90% of the time it's fine. And I've been playing it here like for 7 weeks. It's been great. No issues with it. As soon as I plugged it in at the show, there was this like one little dropout, and I was like, no, I got to change guitars. I'm not dealing with this again. But have been playing it back at the room. Totally fine. Great sounding guitars. So what's with that?
Mate, it's just cursed.
Oh, and another thing, right? Same part of the show I was saying before with the kind of the encore. Had my PRS DGT, which has 2 volume controls, which I always forget about. For some reason, I just had the neck volume off, and I was like, cool, do the play in. And then I'm like, you know what? I want to hear some neck pickup tone for this next bit, just dead. And I'm like, no, it was the other way around. I was on the neck pickup, and I switched to the bridge pickup, but the pot on the bridge pickup is kind of like, it's not scratchy, but it's really hard to turn.
Yep.
Like, you know, the other ones are really smooth. This one, you've really got to like, so I'm doing that. And I'm like, I just like managed to get it up. So yeah, that was, and on Saturday night as well, I KO'd a mic stand because I was doing these gang vocals, but I'm so used to being I'm on, you know, where the bass player normally is, you know, like hi-hat side of the drum kit. And normally I'm on the other side. So yeah, I sing this thing and I just turned like that, like I normally would, which would be totally safe. And just, you know, this thing went flying, landed on a foot switch, changed a patch, hit the edit button, loaded up the reverb and tried to change the reverb type and save the patch. So I'm just like playing and I'm just getting this like weird tremolo and reverb thing.
Wow. That's really, that's a clever mic stand.
And none of the techs caught it. Like no one noticed until after the show. I was like, oh, did you see the mic stand go down? They were like, nah, didn't even notice. Like sounded fine. Man. They were like, oh, we just noticed that you weren't doing your gang vocals. Like, yeah, because the mic stand was over. I didn't have time to pick it up.
I did a solo gig one time doing support for I think for like a Cold Chisel tribute band. And I did a solo set. And the sound guy had put a straight stand out for me instead of a boom stand, which I'm used to. So I got the straight stand there. I'm singing, playing acoustic guitar. And I have this thing. I don't know if you have this too, but like my head/face is always itchy. like whenever I'm working. So I've got a million ways of being able to scratch my face with the microphone, like where you won't be able to tell, right? That's fine. I can get away with it. But occasionally, I just need a little like tick just on the head there. So I'm really used to strumming and then like on the upstroke of the guitar, giving it a little bit of a scratch and then coming back down again.
Yep.
You can do it. I can do it seamlessly. It's it's great. So anyway, talking about KOing a mic stand, I'm just singing, I think it was like fucking Browner Girl or some shit like that, playing the song, and I went to do the thing, bam, it must have been like that, I clotheslined the mic stand, and it was on a round bass as well, so it just went straight over. There would have been less than 10 people in the room, and it made the loudest sound I've ever heard, like cranked vocal mic through a full PA. Boom! And everyone stopped and looked at, I mean, they were looking already because I'm playing. And I was like, I don't know what to do here. Like, you can't get away. Like, I had to stop. Like, I never would stop a song, but, I just kind of, I think I looked at the stand, I looked at the 4 people staring. I was like, I mean, that was something.
Would you say that you bring the boom?
Mate, I wish someone had brought the boom for me. But you get through it. It was pretty funny.
With those
people say, "King, you don't even like straight stands." I hate them.
Why are they bringing out a straight stand for a solo artist, mate? We all know it's a boom stand. Well, you take the mark, you play on. That's the way the game's played, Kane. None of this chicken wing tackle, mate. We have obsessed over kitchen nightmares for the last 20 minutes.
Yeah.
This is the Gear podcast.
Let's talk about some gear, mate.
I'm just going to talk about some gear. So
what you got, mate? Show me.
It was kind of one thing that was kind of cool. So Fender launched the Player II, which was a really nice surprise because I got to go and pick this up from Fender HQ. And shout out to Heath, who's an absolutely lovely dude. Had a bit of a hang in there. They've got kind of like a showroom vibe. So I went in there with friend of the podcast, Ben Wilson, and we hung out for an hour and a half and played some stuff. Hopefully people have seen the demo video that I did with it. So, because they were like, what one do you want to demo? And I was like, do you have a black Strat? Like, give me the most boring. I think they've got a bunch of new colors and
you just love John Mayer. That's your problem.
Mate, how can you not love it? It's really, really good. I didn't know anything about the previous Player series, so... it's just a good Strat. I think in Australia about
great, man.
Yeah, man, $1,300 or $1,400. It's a legit guitar. If you wanted to upgrade stuff, you can, but I don't think you really need to on a Strat. The trem's pretty cool as well. Like it's got. I've actually just. I've changed the setup a bit. It was set up to float more, but like 2-point trem, and it just feels really solid, which is. I think some of the other guitars in that price range that I've played, which funnily enough, the Jacksons in that price range, I really haven't got on well with. I feel like they always come out a little bit not well set up. But this is I haven't done anything except tighten up some of the screws in the trem.
Yep.
And it was really solid out of the box, like satin neck as well, which is nice.
Yeah.
I played a show with it.
Man. There's a Seafoam Green, which would be the original series, I think, and it's really great. What's the main difference between the 1 and the 2? Because I'm actually not certain.
The big one that I think is the fingerboard has rolled edges, so it's not sharp, which is really, really nice. And then I was told that they had changed the pickups, and some people in the comments were like, "No, they're the same pickups," but they're like a few subtle little tweaks to it. It kind of. I guess is sort of like a bit more gig ready straight out of the box. The bridge humbucker sounds great as well. It's kind of like a bit Dave Murray Strat vibe with this. All it needed as well was a little bit of just like lemon oil under the nut, and everything kind of stayed in tune great. And
that's cool.
I just had a craving for playing a Strat as well, so hopefully I'll get to demo the Jazzmaster as well next month or something like that. So
I was looking at that. I was looking at those the other day, literally 2 days ago, the Jazzmaster ones.
Yeah, it's a hole in the collection, right? In the toy library that we've got going.
Yeah. The only thing about those ones that I noticed, because admittedly I don't really know what the switches do on any of those guitars anyway, but I don't think the Play series had all the switches.
Okay,
it's a bit more simplistic, but
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny. It's like, I think the Jazz/Jag, all those models, we talk about big guitars for big men. I think it's probably something that you and I would both feel reasonably comfortable playing. But
Yeah.
it's just, oh man, it's hard to break the like indie rock thing, which I've resisted that so much because in favor of pointy guitars. Remember, I think I told you years ago, I really wanted to have like a Jazz Master and put a Floyd Rose on it. Like, it would upset so many people. It'd be amazing.
Oh, it'd be great in hot pink, with Damasio's. It'd just be the ultimate.
Oh my god! Maybe
Brother, what's that?
one day, mate. One day.
Yeah, the other guitar that I've got here, which I'm borrowing at the moment, is this.
Yeah, that's very nice.
Piece of magnificence. So, I mean, hopefully some people listening to the podcast know who Charles Cilia is. He's sort of had a reputation for a long time. I first heard about his stuff when we played with a band in 2011 called Syndicate, who are from Sydney. And Chris, the guitar player from Syndicate, had a few guitars that Charles had made. And I think he actually one that he was just like borrowing while Charles made, kind of Les Paul style things. And I remember him pulling out and being like, "Oh, play it," and being like, "Man, what is this? This is great." So, it's sort of, I mean, like the finish is, and obviously if you're listening to this podcast, I'm going to do a demo with this guitar, which will probably be up before the pod. So,
mate, it's been all over your Instagram and stuff. People have.
It's been on the gram. I played a.
Why don't you go give Leon a follow on Instagram? Just if you don't have Instagram, just sign up just to follow the man, the great man.
I won't follow you back, but that's okay.
Me neither. Give me a follow while you're at Troy Navaban.
But Troy, the best thing I think, Charles is like, we were talking, he's like, "Yeah, man, like I've seen a lot of your videos and seem like you just really like John Sykes, which I like as well." Then he showed me the pickups that he winds, and they're called Blue Murder pickups. And that was the moment where I was just like, yeah, this dude you're one of us, bro.
And you're like, ooh, sex child. Get a slip and slide, right. Gonna come inside, yeah.
Well, I was listening to that album yesterday, trying to listen to it, and there's only 3 songs on Spotify, one of which is Bullshit. Riot, and then that, and then Billy.
No. Oh, hang on, I've got Tidal. Let me check. I listen to that album reasonably frequently. Holy shit. The album's been taken off, fuck, they've taken it off.
John, what are you doing to us? You're killing us, brother.
Man, that's that's really sad. Hang on, I'll check Apple Music as well. It's not on Tidal, so presumably... Although, you know what, man? Sometimes this stuff is not available to us.
It's probably available... they've probably signed some terrible licensing deal back in the 90s.
It's so shit, man. Like, there's... I might have told you, but I bought this Butch Walker album from like the early 2000s, which I think you can stream everywhere in the world except here. And I had to buy it on CD, which was also completely fine. Actually, I should listen to that today because it's still in my car.
There you go.
Blue Murder. That's a real shame. Oh, Jelly Roll Live. Oh man, no, it's not on here anymore.
You know what I mean? Like no one wants to hear Jelly Roll off that album.
Didn't Nielsen do? Did he do the live album?
He did the live album.
Yeah, that's right.
He did the Sykes Bad Boy Live.
Oh, okay, right.
Which is basically Blue Murder, but, you know.
Oh, it's better than nothing.
Yeah, he did. Better than nothing, exactly. It's a really good live album because he does a lot of the Whitesnake stuff as well, which is sick. But yeah, man, I was kind of explaining this to you before. It's like, it feels like a better version of my Hamer guitars, which are fantastic instruments, but, we've kind of noted a few times before, maybe like, just kind of like, for what we do, lacking a bit of vibe. Maybe a bit too, I don't know, safe with the way they're put together. But yeah, this is like sorry, you go.
Oh, sorry to interrupt, but like to look at it from the pictures, and now looking at you hold it. So I thought it was more 335 in size. It's actually more like Les Paul, sort of maybe slightly wider than Les Paul.
Yeah, I think it's more like the small body. What is it? The 339 Gibson do. Let me grab my 335 because I conveniently have it here. So, I mean, the 335 is a much bigger thing. Like if you put them,
it's a little hard to tell on the camera. They kind of look the same size, to be honest. But
yeah, close.
Can you put them side by side?
335s. There you go.
Oh yeah, that's more like it.
335 is definitely a bigger guitar. It's kind of got a bigger butt. It's almost like halfway. Sorry, I should say this into the microphone. It's almost halfway between like a 335 and a Les Paul. That double cut thing. It's sort of like this part is bigger. This part feels like a 335. This feels like a Les Paul. But man, his setups are just insane. Stainless frets. The fingerboard's like, it's perfect. You know, you can just kind of do whatever you want on it. He's also a really good player himself as well. So Charles used to play in a band called Jerk, who were like an Australian industrial band from the late 90s, who I swear I remember seeing their stuff in Australian Guitar Magazine.
Me too, man. Like, I'm sure... Well, yeah, ask him for me if he's the guy, because I remember reading this when I was in high school.
Oh, no, he is the guy.
Yeah. So I remember reading an article with him then, and he was like, oh, yeah, I use my laptop, my Mac laptop for all my effects, and I run everything through, I don't remember what he said, like through Pro Tools or Logic or something.
Yeah.
For delays and reverbs. And I was like, wow, that's really clever. And that was in 2003, I want to say. I would have read that, 2002. It's very forward thinking.
Yeah, man. I think it's just kind of like all the things that we love he was doing 20 years ago, you know? So, and he's just continuing. And like, look, big props, because the headstock doesn't look like a Gibson headstock, but also doesn't look weird. You know, like it kind of suits the guitars. So yeah, I think at some point in the near future, I'm just going to get him to build me a guitar and have it, because this is actually great. Which, you know, you can play stuff that's really good and you're like, yeah, it's really good. But this is, and like, yeah, winds his own pickups, finishes the guitars himself. There's a guy he works with, I think Holdfast Custom Paint, which also will do like, Holdfast, exactly, just like those Kmart t-shirts we had. Who'll do like custom, you know, I sent you a photo. He's got so CC DeVille had a bunch of custom BC Riches. So he's like built replicas of them, but call them CC Rich. And just, I mean, he does the kind of modern metal super strat multi-scale thing. He's got a 7-string that he made that I played that's like the easiest 7-string I've ever played. Builds acoustics that are great. Yeah, the dude can sort of like do it all. And he loves rack gear and he loves the 80s. So what a...
Tick, sign him up.
What an absolute legend.
You can come to my birthday party.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we'll have to try get him on the pod, because I think it would be a sick hang. So yeah, this has been awesome. Really, really awesome. I got this hopefully for the rest of the week, because I'm going to play some more shows with it. Very, very enjoyable. Very, very good. People who like good things should check it out. I also got to hang out with my friend James Ivanyi, who lives in Sydney and is also one of us. Like, just great dude, great player. But he's got a signature guitar with Sir. And it's really funny, because I was playing it trying to find things that I don't like about it. And I was like, yeah, if I was going to get a Sir Modern, this is basically exactly how I would spec it. It's like the Sir Modern equivalent of my black SC245, because it's just black with natural binding, ebony board. And he's got a cream Sir Modern that's been relicked.
Okay.
Which was like way more my speed. Like, it's just a great 80s guitar. And again, like, you know, awesome setup on them. Like, we all know that Sir does great work, but yeah, it was pretty cool to just see someone who's got like, you know, a really understated signature guitar.
Yeah, it's very
like,
cool.
You know, yeah, it's not like big gaudy inlays and flame tops, just like, it's black, it works good, it plays amazing, and it's perfect for what he does.
I think that's what signature models should be. Like, they shouldn't just be like maybe I'm just being a bit old-fashioned, but it's like, you know, you play an Eric Johnson Strat, just a fucking Strat, right?
Well, dude, I mean, one of the best Strats I've ever played was Warren Mendoza's Eric Johnson Strat that he's put like Sir MLs in. He's like, yeah, the early EJ Strats are the ones, and he's right. He just had it refretted with jumbo frets, and it's like, this is just a good Strat. Yeah. Like, who cares that it's an Eric Johnson Strat? Or, you know, I mean, like the OGs, Les Pauls are different, right? Because it's
not a signature model, really.
It's a signature model, right? It's not the way we're talking about it. In contrast to, like, you know, Deathcore Band of the Week Kiesel signature model, which are always just the gaudiest, ugliest things that I've ever seen in my life.
Yep.
You know, and I've played some Kiesels, which are amazing guitars, you know, like, but also some of them are just the worst things I've ever seen in my life.
Man, if it's funny to think, because like pre-Kiesel, when Carvin, like when we were young and you were all about Carvin, if they did the Kiesel thing maybe 5 years earlier, like your life would be very different right now.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I still have that Carbon V3, by the way.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
And forever shall, because, you know, no one will want to buy it.
We should talk about that in depth once. Have you ever done that on your channel, that amp?
I've done it a few times, but I haven't done one recently. I should revisit it and get some okay sounds from it.
Yeah. Let me just tell a quick story, because if no one is familiar with the Carbon V3 amp, like, you know, long story short, when Leon and I met in 2006, 2007, you were all about the Carbon V3. You were like, you just discovered it. You said, look, people love these rectifiers, these dual rectifiers, but I've got the amp. It's way better because it's got MIDI control. It's like, because it is MIDI controllable, right?
MIDI controllable. And a couple of effects loops. You can assign the effects loop. It's like a very cool,
it's cool
concept.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it was like you were so like into it, and it got me.
I was so 19 years old about it.
You were so 19 years old, and I was so 20 years old about it. And you were barring up over it, and I was barring up over it, and anyone that would listen, we were telling how good the Carbon V3 was. And it's not a bad amp, but it's just an amp. It's like,
yeah.
It's like, it's not. We've revisited it in the studio a couple of times. It's never really won. It's sort of like okay.
Dude, I used to use that with a BBE in the loop. So like,
yeah, you did, mate.
The heavyweight champ right here. Double Cobras, exactly.
Charlie Kerno over there.
That thing bought the boom.
Yep. BBEs, so, man, yeah. That's funny. Someone mentioned those the other day about something else. Like, that was a time. I've got one somewhere.
Having a BBE in a guitar rig it's the guitar equivalent of jelking. You know, like yep. just bro, just use what you've got. You don't need to pull it out. Just it's fine.
I'm gonna do a little YouTube search for BBE Sonic Maximisers in, like, I'm sure someone's done a video which is like, are BBE Sonic Maximisers worth it in 2023? You know?
Oh, almost definitely. Well, just watch the Plague Side Studios video on it, because
did he do one?
Yeah, he did a whole like, what does it actually do and how does it work and how do you replicate it? Yeah, in true Ryan fashion, and Ryan is definitely a friend of the podcast.
Ryan's wicked, man. I like his. I didn't
just watch that. Just watch that, because it's great, and people got upset. In the comment. I mean, because there's people who hate them with a passion, and people who really like them, and he's just like, yeah, it's actually, their marketing is clever, and yes, it's doing stuff, but also you can do the same things in different ways. So, yeah,
it's like it does a thing. I think with my ADA rig, this is going back years ago, before I really knew how to do anything, which arguably is still like now. But when I really, really didn't know how to do anything, I found like I could never get enough like sizzle and top end out of that ADA. Yeah. You want to always sound a little smooth. And when I borrowed yours, I think you bought it, or maybe I bought it and I ordered it on eBay because you didn't have an eBay account. This is 2007. I
didn't have an eBay account.
That's right.
Yeah,
so I ordered it for you and you paid for it, and then it got shipped to my house. And I was like, oh my God, I've got this thing here. And you were like, man, open it up, try it out. I was like, this is amazing. I can't afford one, and I really liked it. It was. Do you still have that unit, or did you move it on?
No, I sold it to Gavin Fu.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
That's funny. I wonder what he's doing. I haven't heard from him for years, actually. But anyway.
So I wonder if someone's still got that unit. Yeah, I had it was the more modern one. 482, 820.
It started with 842-ish or 832.
It was the one that was silver and red.
Yeah.
The same color as when they did the Sonic Stomp and a bunch of other... Yeah. Remember they did a Tube Screamer style pedal as well, which I think was kind of cool.
Yeah, I think people liked that one. They did a whole range of pedals at that time. That was like late 2000s-ish.
They also made the Vertex Wah, so... There's that. For those, high-end boutique tones, just apply goop.
Yep.
We don't need to,
Mate, you
talk about that too much. I brought it up. And forever I shall. So yeah, the BBE, yeah, that was a time, dude. That was a time.
Well, yeah, I've got a 462, I think. So I think
you've got the older one.
Yeah, I think the main difference between the models is the input. Like some of them have XLRs, some of them have jacks, some maybe have RCAs.
Yes,
I think internally
correct.
it's the same. It's just, that's the thing. I was on the lookout for one for years. Like, yeah, there was this is, mid 2000s. Anytime I could find a rack unit for a reasonable price on eBay, because that's where I used to get stuff, I would buy it. But none of them ever really came up for a reasonable price, so it didn't happen.
Man, it's funny because they've got in that rack series the Sonic Maximiser, the Loudness Maximiser, the Mark III bass with MACH, and the Harmonic Maximiser.
Didn't Mike have the bass one? I thought Mike had the...
I can't remember.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, they're on sale on the website for $60.
Really?
Yeah, down from $250.
Wow.
So this could be... Oh, no, these are the plugins. Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. I was like... I mean, imagine paying $250 for... Wow, do BBE not do hardware anymore?
Oh, not even the pedals. I thought
Maybe
I thought they did like a power supply.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I'm just on the plugin website.
Right.
Yeah, here we go.
I'm a little skeptical, man, on these. Like, I don't know why you'd... I'm sure there's a reason for it, but like a BBE plugin and like a Sonic Exciter, like a Aural Exciter plugin and that sort of stuff. Like, surely there's other ways. Maybe I'm just a
I mean,
dumb
I
idiot.
think the Aural Exciter thing is like... part of it was like, frequency dependent saturation.
Yeah,
so
it's different. Like they're a different process, but
that's a thing. But also, yeah, just watch the Plague Side video on it. It's pretty great.
I'll check that out.
It's like everything you need to know. There was some other cool gear that came out in the last week or two, though. Like, new Synergy stuff is always fun.
New Synergy Day, yeah. So you haven't read much about it yet, right? The Z-Rec module.
I have not read anything about it. I have Michael Nielsen's video saved, ready to watch, but of course, because I always do my due diligence, I have not watched it.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, Mike, but I will. But yeah, the as we say down here, the Z-Rec.
The Z-Rec. I love my Dr. Z amps. I have a Dr. Z over there at the moment. I've got a Remedy, which I'm borrowing, which is a cool...
Now, this is kind of like Trainwreck-y, right? Because I know so Ken Fisher of Trainwreck Amps was involved in the original design of the original amp.
So I didn't really know. So like, I'm not really that up on A, Trainwreck amps, B, Dr. Z amps. And so I wasn't really certain about what this module was supposed to do. So I didn't realize that the Z-Rec, in fact, is a Dr. Z. I just want to keep calling it Dr. Z. I didn't realize
we can't go back.
No, the Z-Rec was a signature model of Brad Paisley. So
yeah, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, and so that's the starting point. But I just thought it was like his take on a Trainwreck amp, of which I'm familiar with. That Trainwreck is a thing, but I didn't really understand what that was. So do you know in terms of what that is? Because I didn't realize there were more than one Trainwreck. This is one of them.
Yeah. So they kind of, I mean, I'm probably underselling it and the importance of Trainwrecks, but like Ken Fisher was, it's kind of... They're probably the outside of vintage Marshalls and Fenders, if we put those aside in terms of what are considered valuable, you have Dumble tier, right? Mm-hmm. And Trainwrecks are kind of just underneath Dumble tier, where the amps are really desirable, and Ken Fisher was a really well-respected designer, and lots of Trainwreck clones and kits have been, a big part of the DIY amp community, and they do a thing, and they kind of have different variations. There's a few different Trainwreck variations, which I guess you could say are kind of like the Trainwreck take on a Vox and the Trainwreck take on a Marshall and that kind of thing. So
that's where I was. That's where what I didn't realize, because again, I haven't really spent any time looking at Trainwreck amps. So this is obviously the Vox, take on it. Wouldn't say necessarily, but like related to the Trainwreck kind of Vox sound, right? I think Dr. Z himself, I think he got on the original amp, maybe got Ken Fisher involved to tweak a few things, and that's kind of how you end up with this thing. So it's kind of AC30-ish in its design, as I understand. So it's cool, man. Like the clips sounded great. I think I did watch Mike Nielsen's video, and that was really great. Are you aware of this 0-watt power amp thing that it has in it?
Well, I am now, because I've read the website while we've been doing the pod. But yeah,
look at you multitasking.
We had Jason on in the last podcast. We talked about phase inverter distortion being a big part of classic non-master volume amp tones like Marshalls and things like that. So yeah, it looks like they've basically got a so-called 0 watt power amp where they've got a phase inverter in there and they're slamming that with a small transformer. So you can kind of get, the sound of cranked up phase inverter out of a preamp, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, that seems like something that probably should be more common if you think about it.
Like, I mean, especially because they have like a plexi module and a basement module, and that's do basements have phase inverters? Probably, because Marshalls are derived from them.
Yeah, I don't know, but like, wait, yeah, I'm not going to speak because I don't know, but it's a cool concept. Obviously, I haven't tried it yet, but the concept is cool. It did make me think like that concept in and of itself. I wonder if that is something that. We spoke like a few weeks ago. Like
the basement does have a phase inverter in there. It's so you crank that. I think probably most amps do. I'm thinking of the cathode follower, which is some amps do and some amps don't.
Which we learnt from Jason a long time ago.
Which we've all learnt from Jason. So yeah, we're get big brain. So anyway, back to the Synergy.
Well, I was going to say, I wonder if that sort of concept. It's I don't know fuck all about amp design outside of watching a few videos here and there. So it's not something that I can really speak on with any authority. But I wonder, this concept in and of itself with Synergy feels great. It's like, well, if that's a part of the amp that's missing, because sometimes preamps in general, like they are lacking something, and that something is difficult to understand exactly what it is. It makes me wonder, like, is that something that is actually worth? Maybe that will become baked into like the rack itself, or
that would make sense.
But maybe they won't do that, because if it's already in a module now, then that's doubling up. Maybe it's something that they'll look at doing in the future. Maybe is that an external unit that is just like, if you just put that in a box that you can put in the effects loop of another preamp, will that actually do something positive?
It's probably quite integral to the actual circuit and, the way you tune it and the values you use.
Yeah, probably.
So, I mean, the Syn 2 has the SAG control, right? Because, there's the whole thing with, an amplifier uses the same power supply, whereas a preamp and a power amp often use different power supplies, right? So that's kind of an attempt to get some of the feel of a head.
Would you say it's an attempt to synergize the?
It's an attempt to synergize the system, right? So yeah, that looks super cool. As always with Synergy, they seem to be doing all the right things and kind of filling it out with, they haven't really been phoning it in, which I like. Where most of the stuff.
The D-Rec came out this year, right?
Yep, that was really, really cool.
Yeah.
I thought that sounded great. They've done, obviously there's a Friedman BE Deluxe they did,
right.
which I thought
I think that was the end of last year. That was cool.
Yeah.
Man. I really got to try one of those.
Well, I think it's very similar to the IRX, so you might just try the IRX into a power amp.
Yeah. I was...
Which does sound great. I've done it into the Syn 5050 and it's sick. I really liked that.
Last week, I was doing this guitar recording. I tried to use the Synergy for some stuff, just as a flavor, because it's I tend to use it for my own gratification, and sometimes because it's probably the biggest hit on it for me is it's very quick to not like the module immediately and either change the module or just like do switches and stuff. It's in some ways like a fractal or like a plugin in that regard, which is very positive, and it's not negative, but I find, so like last week we were doing these tracks. We used Dual Rectifier, we used Stiletto, we used Soldano SLO, and we used Cornford, which, by the way, Cornford for rhythm tone was fucking amazing.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Like very good. That amp. There's another one up for sale locally at the moment. The Mark II MK50 with a matching.
I saw
cabinet.
that actually. Yeah, big money.
Yeah, but anyway, I feel like I spend more time dialing those in than I do with the Synergy stuff, which is a shame, because like last week I was playing with the Bogner module, the Ecstasy module, and I've had moments with that where I've really liked it. I've tried to dial it in certain contexts, which I think it didn't really suit it, like maybe going for a slightly lower gain sound in situations where I probably should have just used a different module or something, and I haven't been as impressed. Right. But one thing with that I forgot about, because it's, I appreciate this design decision, and also this is a situation where it didn't work for me personally. But it's got the 3 internal switches. What is it? The cathode bias?
Yeah, cathode bias or something like that. But like for
I
that
feel like
one,
every
it's
time
kind
we
of
talk about this, if Jason ever watches, he's going to be these fucking idiots. So sorry, Jason.
chumps, these lackeys.
Anyway, I had it on whichever. I think I had it in setting 1, and the only reason I'd changed it is because I think I'd watched another video. Maybe it was the Z-Rec or something like that, and they were talking about the internal switches, and I was like, fuck, what did I have that Bogner one set to again? So I read the manual, and it's like, it should be set to 3, I think, from the factory. And I was like, maybe I'll try that. Flicked it over, and was like, oh fuck, this sounds way better. So it's kind of.
I think on that one, it does emulate different revisions of.
No, that's a different switch.
amp.
There's another switch in there as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's like a 101
okay.
switch and then a something else switch. You got to take a part of the chassis, the module's chassis apart to get to that one. This is just the normal.
And it's a couple of screws. It's not that bad.
No, it's fine.
Also...
It's not an issue. But that's a different thing again. But it's like, it's one of those things where you go, I'm like not someone to ever jump up and down and go, fuck, they should have all the switches on the front or all the switches on the back. It should all be accessible. But that was just like, fuck, I'm kind of an idiot. I forgot this thing was here. Like, I could change this thing, and I probably set it up wrong the first time. But it sounded, when I changed it, the thing that I didn't like about the module all of a sudden went away, and I got back into it.
Yeah, right.
So,
How have you liked having the Soldano Astro there?
Man, I did a gig with it a couple of weeks ago. I don't think I told you.
Yeah, tell me about it.
Well, so what did I do? I ran that with the 2x12 SV cabinet. Marshalls with it's got a warehouse retro 30 in the top and a V30 in the bottom.
Nice.
But yeah, I was messing around with it the day before the gig. Same deal. I actually didn't read the manual for it, so if I'd watched your video, it was long enough ago where I forgot everything about it.
Yeah.
So in terms of the way that the gain switches, or what do they call it? The
Galaxies.
Yeah, the Galaxies. I didn't really understand how that worked. And I didn't grab the foot switch as well when I grabbed the amp off you.
Yeah.
So I managed to, I've got a spare MIDI controller, so I programmed that up to do, to change a few channels and stuff. But yeah, once I'd read the manual, like there was a couple of things where I was like, it's weird that gain 2 has more gain than gain 3. And that just so happens to be how you'd set it up, by plugging the thing into the US, it's something you change with the software basically. So I did that. And yeah, once I got all that sorted out, man, it was very good.
Awesome.
The gainy sounds in it are fucking awesome. The mid-gain stuff is equally as awesome. So it's just
that
like
blue mode on there, dude, is like, it's really good.
Yeah, I think,
Really good.
What's the next one up? Because blue's
I think it's blue, purple, red.
Yeah, I think I liked the purple one quite a lot as well.
Purple to me is like, I think that's the classic SLO sound, and then the red is like kind of a boosted version of that.
Yeah, the red was like, I ripped a couple of leads with the red, and that was pretty cool. But even the clean sound on it was really good too, man.
Yeah,
it's a really great amp. Like the MIDI switching in it, I really liked. The IR stuff, I didn't really pay as much attention to. I plugged it in.
Well, I had the same IR loaded in every slot, so...
Well, you did until I changed it, so...
well, there you go.
I'd plugged through USB, and I've just done a bunch of IR, so I thought I'd better fucking represent myself in here. But I said I didn't really need to use that side of it at the gig, so it was plugged in for the drummer to use as for in-ears. But
okay, cool.
Yeah, but I'm off to Cal in 3 weeks, so I might take that out if that's all right with you.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Gig it,
really
thrash it, have fun with it. That's awesome.
It's such a shame because I think my Syn 30 might need to go, which I really like that amp, but it's kind of, I've got a few other things of the same size that I think maybe, like, I probably don't need a Syn 1, a Syn 2, and a Syn 30. That's probably a bit too much.
Yeah. Collected all the Dragon Balls there. But yeah, it's cool because I haven't gigged it yet. I've only really used it at home, but I mean, it's the perfect size for like grab and go when you need an amp, right?
Yep.
That in a 1x12 or a 2x12 would just, it's such a good solution.
It's so versatile. Like, it's really surprising to me that I haven't had an amp. Well, I mean, the Synergy is similar. Like, the Synergy is like technically louder. I think it's 30 watts versus 20 watts on the Astro technically. But the versatility just out of the box of that thing. It's like its cleans are so good and so usable to like across a lot of different genres, you know. Sometimes like like lower, think about like lower wattage amps 15 years ago, so like a Tiny Terror,
Dude.
which is a great sound but not like wildly versatile. You get its sound and that may work for
One
some.
sound.
Yeah.
Blues Junior.
Yeah.
Kind of one sound. AC-15, one sound.
Yeah, if you're going to use them with pedals and stuff, I guess it's kind of a bit more, you can open it up a little bit. Although like the Tiny Terror for me wasn't really great for
Yeah,
pedals,
even
but
then. Yeah.
Blues Junior maybe was pretty good for that. But like I used pedals in front of the Astro in the clean channel and in the blue channel, and it sounded really great.
Sick.
So
Yeah.
man, like great amp.
That's awesome.
So
Confirmed. I mean, I really like I put it side by side with my Hot Rod a bunch of times,
Yep.
and you can dial it in to do the same thing. The Hot Rod, once you get the master up, obviously is a bit more of a beast.
Yep.
But man, the Astro is like 95% there, and it's easier to take around, and it's got all the digital back end on there, so you
Yep.
can go direct. It makes life very easy.
man, you got to like, you've been away for so long, so when you finally get back, you got to try this SLO. Like I know you've tried one, but like you've got to like we've got to hang and you've got to like fuck with this SLO
Yeah.
with me because it is the best amp. Like I really hate to say that. I never thought
Yeah.
I'd actually like Soldano.
It lives up to the reputation.
Yeah, I was saying to you before we started, man. Like the clean sound I got with it the other day, the like sparkly, beautiful clean sound. I haven't got anything as satisfying as that before. Like when I've needed that real like not direct 80s sound, but just going through an amp. Just fucking incredible. And then the dirty stuff from like heavy chunky rhythms to leads. It's like, it's kind of the best amp.
Yeah, well, we should do Astro Hot Rod SLO side by side. That would be a really cool video
man.
through some cabs.
That'd be wicked.
Have you tried my Marshall yet?
Yeah. Okay. Funny story about that.
Yeah.
So the band, when we were tracking the other day, the first song, Dual Rectifier, it's on the left, sounded really good. And to try something different, we put my Marshall up to do the right.
Oh, cool.
And may have died. So
your amp?
yeah, my Marshall. I haven't tested it since then. I've been a bit scared, but it was at the time I was like, we got to move on. Like we can't fuck around. I pulled the stiletto out and we used that instead. Sorry, I didn't do that. I pulled your amp out first, and
cool.
then could not remember.
Very different.
I didn't know what any of the things did, and I didn't have any time to like, because I was like, oh, there's a switch on the back, and hang on, like, what does this one here do? And I don't know.
Yeah,
So
yeah. That's understandable. It's actually a very simple amp. The switch on the back does nothing. It's not connected to anything. If you plug into the high input, you get the Jose gain stage. If you plug into the low input, it bypasses the Jose gain stage. And it's got a master volume, and it's internally bridged. So yeah, it's actually pretty dummy proof.
Yeah. Well, it sounded okay. Like, I mean, that's a bit to underplay it, but it worked. But I was a bit like, fuck, I've just blown my Marshall up, and is it the amp that's busted, or is it a cable? Like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I pulled the stiletto, and but yours is actually on the shelf at the moment and currently plugged in. So maybe I'll give it a blast today. I haven't had time. The last week has been very crazy. So maybe after we finish
it does the same thing as yours with the master around like 5 to 6, where it's like that's the zone to run it in.
Yep.
Man, and
sorry, go.
Yeah, and then just using like the main volume 1, and if you want the jumper thing, but then just going from high to low input, you can have the extra gain stage on there, which is kind of cool. It sounds a bit more. I don't know. Yours is like, because it's a 1959, right? It's not a 2203. There are the differences in there. But yeah, yours is like a bit more Judas Priest.
Yep.
This is a bit more AC/DC.
Right. Yeah.
That's the way I would describe it.
I'll give it a blast today. Just quickly, we should probably wrap it up actually in a second if that's okay with you. But I've been playing the SV20 quite a bit when I have had time.
Awesome.
Just getting used to that. And man, that thing is that got surprisingly good last week on it, some heavy metal songs, weirdly enough.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
I mean, hey man, it's still they're classic amps for a reason, and anyone who's like, oh, what are Marshall doing? It's like, yeah, those 20-watt amps rip hard, dude.
Yeah, man.
And they still make the 1987X and the 1959. That you can go and buy those unmolested. They're pretty decent. So and then send them to Jason and get him to do a couple little mods and have a have a ripper time.
Yep. Anyway, mate, I better wrap this up because I have an appointment to make, if you understand what I'm saying.
I understand, my brother. Thank you to everybody for tuning into the podcast. We will see you all on the next one.
Peace out.